Hey travelers, Mag and Florida Crafters here. Today, joined by Ormustr for a little bit of adult supervision as we take on the Lanihuli Trail. We're gonna be heading about 3.5 miles up to the summit, and there are about 20 geocaches between the starting point and the top to help guide the way, which is great because we're gonna need all those breaks as we make the ascent to the top of that thing. There's a lot of geocaches to find, a lot of trail to explore, and a lot of time to meet our new friend Ormustr. So let's get out there on the trail and see it together. Come on, let's go.
There are a couple of ways to reach Lanihuli Summit, our main goal for the day. We choose to approach it using the Kapalama Trail, which is a 7.5 mile hike there and back with an elevation gain of about 2,000 feet. We get onto the trailhead at the back of Napueo Park and immediately begin to climb. Just another one of the many trails we would not have known existed if not for the geocaches to guide the way. The hike normally takes upward of 8 hours, so we're glad to get out at sunrise so that we have plenty of time to do it today.
As we continue our ascent, notice that I'm completely out of breath, and Ormustr doesn't look winded in the least. Well, because he's not. He is an avid hiker. So let's find out a little bit more about him. When did you begin geocaching?
2017.
2017, so not that long ago too. Since then, how many places have you traveled, state-wise, country-wise?
I've done every state except for Alaska, and I've got caches in about 10 different countries.
So that's within 7 years. That's accomplishments that people work since the beginning of the time geocaching came around, still haven't gotten to. Now here's the real big question. If you had to take a rough guess, how many miles would you say you've hiked? Really rough.
Well, I only really started hiking in 2017, but I do about 100 miles a month.
100 miles a month. Now, that's insane. And the more we get to talk to Ormustr and find out about the places he hikes, it's no wonder that he's not winded in the least while we're struggling with each step here. What is it about geocaching that brings you back to this game time and time again?
I'm more of a hiker than a geocacher, but I like the geocaching. It takes you to trails that you would have never visited. It takes you to places you never would have known about, especially when you're traveling. It takes you to places that only the locals know about.
And this is a rough trail we're on today, so we are both very glad to have Ormustr along for adult supervision because we clearly need it.
Fortunately, the trail leading out from the park is fairly obvious, if not a bit intimidating. It is perfectly clear and easy to see, even without trail markers tied to the trees, running between rock walls on one side and trees on the other.
This is where a keen eye makes a big difference. You are never ever going to spot this geocache unless you spot this string right here on the tree. And you probably can't even see that from here, so let's get a little closer. Right there, that is the only indication that there's a geocache hidden right here under this straw. And thank goodness for that, because otherwise we'd be spending a long time here, which actually might not be a bad thing because we're still quite winded.
When the trail manages to break free of its rocky confines, it follows the top of the ridgeline to drop off to either side.
This trail, it's pretty intense so far. We've only made it probably less than a quarter mile, and we're sweating. We've actually gone pretty far down to go up. So I think we're all very glad that along the way we can count on having geocaches to find to give us breaks. We're gonna stretch this one out, catch our breath, and then keep going. It's a long way up ahead, but thank you, geocaches.
What we did not realize when we started onto this trail is that it is considered one of the more challenging routes here on Oahu. Though we had not known this from the outset, it was becoming readily apparent as we continued to climb ever higher.
One good thing about doing trails like this is micros are not the norm. Instead, you're looking for something with a little more girth. And I always appreciate a container like this, even if it's not loaded full of swag, but you can hear it. This one is packed. There's a lot of stuff in there for us to dig through.
Despite the effort we were expending in this climb, not once did we consider turning back. That is, until it began to rain on us. It's not uncommon to get some rain like this hiking up toward the ridges, and it has been fairly dry out recently, so we continued onward anyway. We all agreed that we could live with a little bit of rain as long as it didn't get dangerous.
We had thought this trail was being pretty nice to us, and then we look and we see this hill going straight up. And of course, Ormustr with his long legs just takes the stride 3 at a time and disappears up there. But eventually, Florida Crafters and I are gonna make it to the top and catch him. One step at a time, and one heck of an elevation gain coming up this hill. And looking ahead, it's not stopping anytime soon.
Finally at the top, we catch a little bit of a break with the downhill, but this only means that we're gonna have to regain this again.
This is why our adult supervision out here is so awesome. It's like a nice little security blanket, because if we struggle for too long, Ormustr is finally going to help out. And we know that he knows where these are because you can see his name clearly on most of these logs, Ormustr FTF, right on top of that thing. So man with a plan, hiking his way up on the trail and eventually letting us catch up and make the finds too.
We finally catch a view, only to realize that the rain bands pushing down on us are only growing heavier.
It has definitely gotten interesting out here. We've made it a little around 1.5 miles in, 800-foot elevation gain, and now it has started raining down on us. Fortunately, under the tree cover, we're not getting it nearly as badly as we can see off the sides of the trail, but we are still hiking through the rain, one step at a time, up we go.
With the rain we find ourselves hiking directly into only growing worse, the mud on the trail starts to become slick under our feet. Even taking careful steps, we each find ourselves slipping and sliding.
I've stressed it in videos before, and it's worth mentioning again. Sometimes it's all about safety. With it starting to rain on us and the trail getting slick down the way it is, we're gonna reassess this situation, decide if we're gonna continue on or turn back and save this for a drier, safer day.
By the time we reached the top of the next hill, our decision had been made. It gets much steeper further on from here, and those conditions are sure to be unsafe. So rather than risking it, we turn around and decide to take this trail another day.
All right, we're gonna call it here. We're just past 1.5 miles along the trail, and the rain has really started dumping down on us. We've got a little bit of a break here, but there's no reason to think it's not gonna stop because the clouds are really gray ahead. Well, the rain itself and the wind blowing on us is a bad enough combination. The real reason we're turning around is because the 500-foot elevation gain to the summit is going to be slick and wet with rain. And we're not sure that it's going to be safe for us to take on those conditions. So we're going to call an end to the trail here, about 1/3 of the way through, and we'll be back to finish off the rest of this trail. But for now, make sure to like this video, subscribe, stay tuned for updates, and we'll see you out on the trails.